Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. I am back once again with the connoisseur of all reporting, Mr. Romeo Anthony Cologne, and this is episode 2 of The Undertaker The Last Ride. This episode is titled The Redemption. Romeo, how you feeling today before we get started?
I'm feeling great. It was a rough night yesterday of reporting with that Drew Gulak news. I had to edit the damn post 3 times. Thank you, Ryan Satin.
Ryan Satin had to mess you up, but thankfully our good friend SRS Sean Ross Sapp, in between his shit posting, he put the correct information. Put the correct information out there, so shouts out to him for sure. I decided to wear something special today for our Undertaker review. The only Undertaker type themed shirt I have, of course, Rest In. But Joey Ryan, Rest in Penis, yes. Rest in Penis. My favorite Undertaker shirt right here. Or Undertaker themed shirt right here.
Larry Morgan, if he's watching, is rolling in his grave.
Hi, Larry. But this episode of The Undertaker The Last Ride was a follow-up from episode 1, The Greatest Fear, following up from his WrestleMania 33 matchup with Roman Reigns. We heard a lot of his doubts before that match in episode 1. We kind of saw his feeling of relief after the match in episode 1. So get us right into episode 2, Romeo Anthony Cologne. But before he starts our quarterbacking of episode 2 of Undertaker The Last Ride, this is a quick reminder to you, the viewers of True Hill Heat. Drop a like on this video. It helps the YouTube algorithm. It helps our channel get more exposed and helps it grow and get wrestling fans just like you to get this True Hill Heat content. And of course, push the iCard down at the bottom to subscribe for more True Hill Heat. So, Romeo, take it away.
Chapter 2, The Redemption, Chapter 205. We instantly see The Undertaker and Michelle 8 months later after WrestleMania 33 watching that match with Roman Reigns, and I wrote down the quote, "Ugh," The Undertaker says.
Oh my God, I've never gotten so much enjoyment from a man watching his own failures and tearing up at his own failures ever before in my life. Like, usually I feel some type of sympathy. Usually I'll like find some type of remorse in me. I had none at all. And the further we'll go into this episode, you will understand why I have no remorse for the Undertaker watching his own failures.
Taker talks about how he was disappointed in the match. Michelle McCool tells him that she doesn't think Roman Reigns knew that The Undertaker was disappointed, and Undertaker says, sure, Roman knew when he watched it back.
Undertaker was nailing it. He was on point with a lot of his quotes throughout watching this, for sure.
Yes. Taker says he's going on vacation. He's going to get his hip replaced. His hip hurts daily as we see him limping around. He says he wants to chase his kids and play around with them. I'm sure you, SP3, as a newfound father, can relate to wanting to do those things.
Of course, like, that was one time that I did relate with the Undertaker a bit in this, especially in this episode, the moments at home with Michelle and the kids. This is like the most humanizing of an over-the-top character that WWE has ever done. Like, and you'll get into it a little bit more with the stuff with him and Michelle, but like, this one was really like, if episode 1 was like, okay, we get the point of this is humanizing the Undertaker, episode 2 accomplished it to me. It accomplished it because now I actually look at the Undertaker as a human being instead of this character that he's always been. He's always kept character, but now we kind of understand the struggle that has been with that through this episode.
We're seeing Mark Calloway.
Exactly.
We go into the emergency room. We're doing this hip surgery on the Undertaker. The nurse asked, have you had any surgeries in the past? Undertaker laughs. Like, yeah, we're 15.
It literally, I put in my notes here. Jesus Christ, has he had any body part that has not gotten work on? He is like Chris Jenner with the amount of surgeries he has gotten.
Ooh. Oh.
Yeah, I said it.
They play his theme while putting him under. How great was that?
That was awesome. That was awesome. That soothed him.
What
That
a rib.
soothed him.
Michelle McCool worries that he's going to feel so good from the surgery that he will want to wrestle again. And she brings up Mania's coming back to New Orleans where he doesn't remember his last match. He's probably going to get the itch. Michelle is Nostradamus right here.
Michelle is clairvoyant. Clairvoyant as hell in this moment.
Then we start talking about the softer side of the man, Mark Calloway. Michelle talks about her relationship with him. We see the romantic side of Mark. We get a look at their kids playing, the family man, the father Mark Calloway is. Taker gets emotional talking about Michelle McCool, saying he wouldn't be the man he is today without her. Aw.
That was very much like a touching moment. Like you said a few moments ago. I stopped seeing the Undertaker, especially in this episode. I started really seeing Mark.
Michelle says she didn't want to meet two people, Kane or the Undertaker, and Kane ends up being one of the nicest people on earth, and she marries the Undertaker.
Love it.
Taker brags that Michelle chased after him, and Taker says he fell in love with her because she could throw a football.
Absolutely.
Highlights on Michelle McCool throwing the football.
Man, Michelle is such a goat. Like, she on the low. Like, I didn't really appreciate her as much as I do. Like, between two episodes, I think in the two episodes of The Undertaker Last Ride, I appreciate Michelle McCool more than her entire WWE career. Yeah.
Then we start talking about the Vince McMahon and Mark Calloway relationship. Michelle says Vince and Taker would take bullets for each other. Mark names his son Gunnar Vincent Calloway. Taker says that besides his father, Vince is the most influential man he's met in his whole life. Batista calls Taker Vince's right-hand man. Big Show likens them the two war buddies. Shane says it means a lot when you work alongside someone and you build something together. Kane says that multiple stars left WWF, WWE, but Taker stayed and was loyal.
Perfect photo that they showed when Kane said that. It's Taker in the middle with Bret Hart and Razor Ramon to one side and Diesel to the other. Because Bret Hart was another guy who you thought would never leave WWE, and then he basically got forced out. So Taker was the last guy standing. Really, when you really think about like the new generation era and the era that started Monday Night Raw, it's Taker pretty much and Shawn Michaels. That's it.
Shawn got hurt. Taker was always there.
Yep.
Vince told Mark, "You've been feeling sorry for yourself." And Mark says that if anybody else said that, he would have put them on their ass. He knew it was true. And he knew that it came from a good place coming from Vince. And Mark gets emotional again, talking about the tough love that he needed, because Vince was not only his boss, but his friend. See great backstage footage of them saying they love each other. The reporter or the interviewer asked Vince McMahon, what does The Undertaker mean to him personally? And you see Vince immediately, the eyes well up, and he tells the camera to cut it. He can't answer that question. Very, very emotional Vince McMahon we see here.
Like they got pretty much both of them got really emotional when talking about each other. Like Undertaker compares Vince to not only a father but a brother. Like he's multiple things to Undertaker in his life, and for him to call him the most influential man in his life outside of his father is big.
We see Undertaker beating in Vince McMahon's office in Stamford. Vince immediately kicks the cameras out.
And I just wanted to mention in this moment, I was like, oh, so last week I realized that this documentary is about humanizing The Undertaker. But between the interview with Vince getting too emotional to answer the question, and then seeing Vince on a Saturday afternoon at WWE headquarters in an orange t-shirt and jeans, this documentary is also humanizing Vincent Kennedy McMahon.
He just got done working out. Of course, of course. Taker describes his conversation with Vince. He says that Vince pretty much asked him if he's going to be ready to come back. Taker says he's good staying retired, but he will stay prepared just in case somebody gets hurt, you know? Taker says Vince could sell ice to an Eskimo, and he feels like Vince was sort of challenging Mark to come back, swerving him. What do you think of what Taker said in this conversation with Vince?
Michelle said it perfectly. If Taker thinks Vince needs him, he will be there. And it's like, it's sort of kind of like Michelle is in a 3-person relationship, because there's this old man that her husband has known for years that literally just had to say jump, and Taker says how high.
We see a cool clip of Taker watching AJ Styles versus Kevin Owens, and Taker says he would love to work with AJ. AJ gets it, and that AJ reminds him of Shawn Michaels.
Absolutely, I loved that part. It was a lot of seeing into the future, and I also did love just before that when Taker knocks on Vince's office, and he just says it's Take. So that's how he was known backstage. He just says it's Take, and they know he gets automatic entry. And I also enjoyed the little Taker running into Ric Flair backstage at the Royal Rumble, and we see I think this is like the third AEW star that we have seen in this documentary, as Broken Matt Hardy is in the background.
Looking like he's just going through the motions. There's no creative direction. we remember.
He did not seem happy to be there.
Vince calls Taker asking what he thought of a match with Cena at WrestleMania. Taker says, well, I didn't think about it. Yeah, okay. Until he rewatched the match with Roman. Michelle says Taker would see how his hip feels first. WWE gives Undertaker a ring to install in his garage. We see Taker running the ropes, taking bumps. He asks the camera, what am I doing? Then his confidence comes back. He says, he tells Michelle to record this. He says, I ain't as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. I'll see you in New Orleans. And the eyes go in the back of the head. The tongue roll comes out. He sends this video to Vince McMahon, and Vince McMahon sends Taker a text back saying, expletive, yeah.
I love hearing Vince's text messages from a third-person point of view.
We see Cena in the ring challenging Taker, talking trash. Cena backstage says they needed a good story to bring back The Undertaker.
Those John Cena promos before WrestleMania 34 were bangers. Like, some of the best work that Cena has ever done in manipulating a crowd. And
when you have to tell a storyline by yourself.
When you have to do all the storytelling yourself with your words, not even with your actions. He couldn't tell his story with matches in the ring. I mean, there was a match with Kane before WrestleMania 34, but no one remembers that. No one really cared about that. It was all about his promo work, and I did not really appreciate it because I was so against The Undertaker coming back at WrestleMania 34, but I didn't appreciate it in the time of how big that crowd reaction was and how much the fans really wanted to see the old Undertaker back. And John Cena deserves a lot of credit for how great he told that story.
By the way, John Cena not the only one who had to sell an Undertaker storyline by himself. Remember Bray Wyatt?
Absolutely. He did not do as well, though.
Yeah. We see Primo Colon, my cousin from another mother. He comes to The Undertaker's garage and helps Taker get back into ring shape. In New Orleans, the day before WrestleMania, Taker says this is probably the best version of him since WrestleMania 25 versus Shawn Michaels. He says it's for the fans, but a lot of it is also for himself, his pride, and the legacy he wants to leave behind.
How selfish of him. It's not slightly for himself and his pride. He said it was mostly for himself and his pride. That's selfish. It should be 100% for the fans. So if you have any doubts you can't perform for the fans, you probably shouldn't perform. That's just my opinion. One man's opinion. I've been also called the biggest Taker hater in the wrestling community. So to each his own.
He talks about the conspiracy theories of maybe returning as the American badass since he retired as a dead man. Remember those theories were going around?
He should have. Would have worked out perfect. And the main reason people started to like the whole build up to WrestleMania 36 with AJ Styles and The Undertaker is because he showed signs of the badass. At this stage,
he could have gotten away with it much smoother.
At this stage of his career, the American badass works. Like him dressing up like this undead corpse. It worked for 30 years. But it stopped working when he laid down his hat and his gloves and his jacket in the middle of the ring.
That was just such a great ending to a career right there. A great visual that you could have got that. And then Taker could have also gotten what he selfishly wanted by, coming back and having a better match, but as a different character. You would have got the best of both worlds with them.
Yeah, you wouldn't have completely diminished what they accomplished at WrestleMania 33. The tears that black man that they keep showing in this documentary. I feel bad for him because all those tears, those emotions that he had were taken away from him.
He says this will be a good chance that this will be the last walk he does at WrestleMania.
Okay.
He says it's an honor to get in the ring with John Cena, that they've only had one singles match at Vengeance 2003, which he thinks is incredible that they've both been around each other so long. Only one singles match.
I was very much, they've had more than one singles match. They first on SmackDown, I think like one or two times as well. But yes, he is right. That's their only major singles matchup that they've had in their career.
See Taker working out backstage at the Superdome right before the match. He says he doesn't care if it's good or bad match. He just wants the fans thinking he has a lot left in the tank. And if the fans think that, he will be content.
All I will say is that although the Cena taking selfies with the fans in the crowd was cute, although the Taker pop that he gets when he comes out is unreal, I just want to say I'm still very much confused or do not understand why we couldn't just announce The Undertaker versus John Cena. Why did we have to have this whole storyline where it's not announced before the pay-per-view? Everyone knows it's going to happen, but it's not announced. So they can do that whole story with Cena in the crowd being disappointed, Elias coming out. They dragged this out so long, and apparently they made Taker feel... I think Taker, more or less... I try to put things together watching documentaries. To me, it felt like Taker was told... Your segment is going to be 15 minutes long or longer than 10 minutes, but did not realize that his portion of that 15-minute segment was only going to be 3 minutes long.
We get the match with Cena. Taker looks better than last year, obviously. Short, sweet, squash. Redemption. Taker and Vince hug backstage. They thank each other. And we see Taker running to Roman Reigns. The big dog. Tells Roman, I feel bad about last year. I just want you to know that bothers me. I didn't have it. You know that. And Roman's shaking his head no. He feels bad for Taker.
I love that. That was honestly, I want to say, that was honestly my favorite moment of this episode.
What a cool. We got to be there for that interaction. That was crazy.
That was like a very touching interaction. Like, I thought the interaction between him and Vince after the match was touching, but then, Taker saying, he does that every year. But the moment between him and Roman just stood out to me a lot because it's like Taker being a humble person enough to go to Roman and be like, I apologize for the year prior. I didn't feel like I had it in me. He's like, Roman did not did not agree with that. You could tell by the response from Roman Reigns, he did not agree with that. That was probably one of his favorite matches of his entire career because he was in the ring with one of his idols. But it says a lot about the pride and the immunity of the Undertaker to go to Roman and apologize.
John Cena says, I hope from this day forward he knows who he is and he appreciates it. Taker and Cena embrace, they thank each other. And then we hear Taker's comments on the match with John Cena. It felt good. I just selfishly would have liked to be out there a little longer. It is what it is. Kind of bittersweet. Not what I trained for. We don't sell time. We sell entertainment. Mission accomplished. He basically says he wanted a 30-minute back and forth war with John Cena, basically.
He literally, Shane asks him after the match, how's that feel? Taker's response? Short. then we saw the convo with him and Big Show, and Taker saying he trained for 45 minutes and only got 5 minutes. Oh my God! But my final thought that I put down here for this episode was Taker telling Michelle after the match that he feels like he has another match in him. This selfish son of a bitch. That's what I say. This selfish son of a bitch. But Michelle McCool said, "Oh please, thank you, Michelle. You are our voice in this my voice at least in this documentary, because as a wife, I said this in my campaign to stop Undertaker from coming back at WrestleMania 34. He should not want to be the Undertaker anymore. He should want to be under Michelle McCool. And I don't understand what's the blocking to him. I understand the pride. I understand his legacy and his dignity is on the line with all of this. But you've done so much for us, so much that we appreciate. The more that you drag this out, you are diminishing our appreciation of what you've done before.
He thinks if he had to, he could retire. It's just a matter of if he wants to. You can still go. Now, do you want to go? And Taker says there's no sense in giving an answer because he couldn't give an honest one.
We knew the honest answer. I knew it. I knew it before WrestleMania 34. I knew WrestleMania 34 would not be it. Regardless of if he got his 30-minute classic matchup that he wanted from this matchup, I knew in my heart of hearts this would just be the return of him coming back. And in 2018, we got him a little bit more frequently. But we'll find out on episode 3. That wasn't a good thing. It was a bad thing.
Preview for the next chapter. Oh, man. It's highlighting all his return matches, including the huge tag match, DX versus the Brothers of Destruction. You see Triple H, he says it couldn't have gone worse. Taker says total train wreck. Michelle says, this is a great quote. Michelle says, it means he's going to have to redeem himself again. Here we go. It's a vicious cycle.
Michelle literally
wait for this episode.
But literally, like, I had chills watching this. Romeo, if you don't remember, I literally said this. I said
Never
this.
forgot. Never forgot. Never forgot.
I said this. I said we are in a vicious cycle of Undertaker coming back, having a bad match, coming back, having a bad match.
I redeem myself.
I gotta redeem myself. And now we're getting
part 2.
Now we're getting the behind the scenes and finding out that SP3 is Negro Damas. I am clairvoyant because I said all of this even without seeing the behind the scenes.
Final thoughts on this episode 2 Redemption. I thought there were several spots where you just groan. It's very groan inducing. You say to yourself, just stop, Undertaker, stop. This series is a cry for help is how I would describe it. But still entertaining to see all the backstage footage. Love the Vince interactions. Love the love that Mark has for Michelle and vice versa. Their relationship is interesting. I thought this episode was better than episode 1. What are your final thoughts on this second episode?
I would say episode 1 was a 7 out of 10. This was a 9 out of 10. They really upped it up a little bit, went more into the humanizing of the Undertaker, went more into his relationships with other people, because that allows him to be further humanized and us to get to know Mark instead of the Undertaker. So I really enjoyed this episode. This episode was an upgrade from episode 1, and I just feel like it's going to get better with episode 3. But I can safely say that after episode 2, this is quickly becoming my favorite documentary series since WWE Breaking Ground, which was the documentary they did
Oh,
back
I
in
love that.
2015, 2016 with the NXT roster, and that was probably the best documentary series outside of WWE 24. But WWE 24 is continuous, but like focused documentary series. It's Breaking Ground, and now we got Undertaker: The Last Ride.
Let's do a quick, short preview of what's coming up. We saw the preview for episode 3. I would assume episode 4 might be the Goldberg match, and maybe episode 5 is the lead up to the Boneyard match, and what comes after.
I would have to think so, because like if this next episode is focusing on the 2 Saudi shows in 2018, the next timeline is basically his return with the Goldberg match, which, man, if his confidence was shaken by the WrestleMania 30 match with Brock, if he completely felt like he had a bad performance against Roman at WrestleMania 33, whoo, let's get ready for episode 4 and hear his reaction to that match, because we saw it on his face right after the bell.
And I guess we'll also get a look into why he wasn't at Mania 35, but on Raw the next night for some reason.
Yeah, like that was very confusing. So you know what to do. Post your comments down below and give your thoughts on The Undertaker: The Last Ride, Chapter 2, The Redemption. Give your full thoughts, how you think this episode ranked compared to episode 1. And of course, push the like button, help support the channel, help support this video, get out to other wrestling fans so they can hear the in-depth analysis from Romeo Colon and myself. And of course, if you haven't already, push the subscribe button and the bell to stay notified for all the great content right here on True Hill Heat. So, for the connoisseur of reporting and the quarterback for this series, Romeo Anthony Colon, it is me, your True Hill Phenom SP3. This has been The Undertaker: The Last Ride, Chapter 2, The Redemption, signing off until episode 3 next time.